Our story begins on the molten plains of Mustafar, where Darth Vader stands alone, his black armor glinting under the crimson glow of lava rivers. The weight of his mechanical breathing echoes in the silence, a reminder of the man he once was. For years, vengeance and power have fueled him, but tonight, a faint spark of hope stirs within his shattered soul. Deep in the archives of a forgotten Sith temple, Vader has uncovered an ancient ritual, a dark promise whispered in texts older than the Jedi Order itself, a way to defy death and bring back Padmé Amidala, the only light he ever knew. Yet the cost is steep, and the Force hums with warnings. Vader's heart, or what remains of it, trembles with a question. Can he reclaim love, or will the darkness consume him once more? The air on Mustafar was thick with ash as Vader descended into the Sith temple, its jagged spires piercing the sky like the claws of some ancient beast. The holocron he had unearthed pulsed faintly in his gloved hand, its crimson light casting shadows that danced across the obsidian walls. The ritual it described required 3 components: a kyber crystal infused with the essence of the living force, a sacrifice of blood from one bound to the departed, and a convergence of the Force at a nexus point, where the veil between life and death was thinnest. Vader's mind churned with calculations, his mechanical limbs moving with purpose as he set his plan in motion. Padmé's face haunted him, her gentle smile a cruel contrast to the rage that now defined him. His first destination was Ilum, the icy world where Jedi once harvested kyber crystals. The Empire had strip-mined its caverns, but Vader knew of a hidden grotto, untouched by scavengers. As his shuttle pierced the blizzard, he felt the Force ripple with unease. The grotto was sacred, a place where the light side lingered. Vader's presence was an intrusion, and the cave seemed to groan as he entered, his boots crunching through frost. The kyber crystal he sought glowed faintly in the darkness, its blue hue defiant. As Vader reached for it, the Force surged, and visions of Anakin Skywalker flooded his mind, laughing with Padmé on Naboo, promising her a life free of war. He crushed the memories, his fist tightening around the crystal. The grotto trembled, stalactites crashing around him, but Vader emerged unscathed, the crystal now pulsing red in his grip, corrupted by his will. Back on Mustafar, Vader prepared the next step: the blood sacrifice. The ritual demanded the life of one tied to Padmé by love or lineage. His thoughts turned to Obi-Wan Kenobi, the brother who had betrayed him, or perhaps Luke Skywalker, the son he barely knew. Both carried a connection to Padmé, but Vader hesitated. Killing Obi-Wan would sate his rage, but Luke was a piece of her, a living echo of the life they could have had. The decision gnawed at him, his inner conflict a storm of rage and longing. He dispatched probe droids to track Obi-Wan, rumored to be hiding on Tatooine, while he scoured Imperial records for any trace of Luke. The galaxy seemed to mock his efforts, offering only whispers and dead ends. Meanwhile, the Emperor sensed a shift in his apprentice. From his throne on Coruscant, Darth Sidious peered into the Force, his yellow eyes narrowing. Vader's obsession with Padmé was a weakness, but also an opportunity. Sidious summoned the Inquisitors, ordering them to shadow Vader's movements. The second sister, a former Jedi-turned-hunter, was tasked with uncovering Vader's plans. She followed his trail to Ilum, where the desecrated grotto told a story of dark ambition. Her report to Sidious was curt. Vader sought power beyond the Emperor's control. Sidious smiled, his mind weaving a new trap. If Vader succeeded, the ritual could be turned to serve the Sith. If he failed, his despair would bind him tighter to the dark side. Vader's search led him to Naboo, where Padmé's memory lingered in every lake and meadow. He stood in the ruins of Theed Palace, now a hollow shell under Imperial rule. The Force guided him to a hidden chamber beneath the palace, where Padmé had once kept a private archive. Among the dusty datapads, he found a hollow recording of her final days, her voice trembling as she spoke of their unborn child. Vader's mechanical heart seemed to stutter, the pain of her loss sharper than any lightsaber. The recording hinted at a Jedi relic, a vergence in the Force, hidden on the moon of Endor. This was the nexus point he needed, a place where the ritual could be completed. As Vader prepared to depart Naboo, the second sister ambushed him. Her red blade ignited in the palace courtyard, her movements swift and precise. Vader met her attack with brutal efficiency, his lightsaber a blur of crimson. The duel tore through marble columns, sparks flying as their blades clashed. The second sister taunted Vader, accusing him of betraying the Emperor for a dead woman. Vader's rage erupted, and with a single force choke, he crushed her windpipe, her body crumpling to the ground. The victory was hollow. Her words echoed Sidious's influence, a reminder that his master was watching. Vader's journey to Endor was fraught with peril. The moon's dense forests hid ancient secrets, and the Force pulsed with both light and dark. He located the nexus point in a cavern beneath a towering tree, its roots entwined with glowing crystals. The air shimmered with energy, and Vader felt Padmé's presence, faint but undeniable. He began the ritual, placing the corrupted Kyber crystal at the cavern's center and spilling his own blood, drawn from a wound he inflicted on his scarred flesh. The Force screamed in protest, the cavern shaking as light and dark collided. Vader chanted the ancient Sith incantations, his voice a low growl, each word pulling him deeper into the abyss. But the ritual was incomplete. The blood sacrifice required another life. Vader's probe droids had located Obi-Wan on Tatooine, living as a hermit in the Jundland wastes. Vader's shuttle roared through the desert skies, landing before Obi-Wan's cave. The old Jedi emerged, his face weathered but resolute. No words were exchanged. Their lightsabers ignited in unison, blue against red. The duel was a tempest, sand swirling around them as their blades clashed. Obi-Wan fought with calm precision, but Vader's rage was a tidal wave. He drove Obi-Wan back, his strikes relentless. Yet Obi-Wan's eyes held no fear, only sorrow for the man Anakin had been. With a final surge, Vader disarmed Obi-Wan, his blade hovering above his former master's heart. The ritual demanded death, but Vader hesitated, the memory of Padmé's plea for peace flickering in his mind. The Tatooine suns blazed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the Jundland wastes as Vader's lightsaber hovered above Obi-Wan Kenobi's chest. The desert wind howled, carrying grains of sand that stung like accusations. Vader's mechanical breathing was the only sound, each labored rasp a testament to the man he had lost. Obi-Wan lay defenseless, his blue blade extinguished, yet his gaze held no plea for mercy, only a quiet resolve that pierced Vader deeper than any weapon. The ritual demanded Obi-Wan's blood, a life tied to Padmé through years of loyalty and shared sorrow. But as Vader's grip tightened on his saber, a memory surfaced. Padmé's voice on Naboo, soft and unbroken, begging him to choose love over vengeance. His hand trembled, the red blade wavering. For the first time in years, Anakin Skywalker stirred within the iron cage of Darth Vader. Vader stepped back, deactivating his lightsaber. Obi-Wan rose slowly, brushing sand from his robes, his eyes searching Vader's masked visage for a trace of the brother he once knew. No words passed between them, but the Force pulsed with unspoken questions. Vader turned away, his cape billowing as he strode toward his shuttle. Obi-Wan's life was spared, but the ritual remained incomplete. Vader's mind churned with alternatives. If not Obi-Wan, then Luke Skywalker, his son, was the only other soul bound to Padmé. The thought twisted like a blade in his chest. To sacrifice Luke was to destroy the last fragment of her legacy, yet to abandon the ritual was to accept her death forever. The conflict tore at him, a storm of rage and longing that threatened to unravel his purpose. Back on Mustafar, Vader retreated to his fortress, its black spires looming like sentinels over the lava fields. In the meditation chamber, he knelt before the holocron, its crimson glow now dimmer, as if mocking his indecision. The Sith texts warned that the ritual's power waned with delay. The nexus point on Endor would soon lose its alignment with the Force. Time was slipping away, and with it, his chance to see Padmé again. Vader's thoughts turned to Luke. Imperial spies had reported sightings of a young rebel pilot, a boy with uncanny skill and a name whispered in defiance: Skywalker. Vader dispatched the Grand Inquisitor to track him, ordering that Luke be brought to Mustafar alive. The command was laced with a possessiveness that even Vader could not fully name, part father, part predator. While Vader plotted, the galaxy stirred with unrest. On Coruscant, Emperor Palpatine grew restless, his meditations clouded by visions of betrayal. The second sister's death on Naboo had confirmed his suspicions. Vader was pursuing a path that threatened the Sith's dominion. Sidious summoned the remaining Inquisitors, fifth brother, seventh sister, and eighth brother, to Mustafar, ordering them to infiltrate Vader's fortress and uncover the ritual's details. The Emperor's plan was twofold. If Vader's ritual succeeded, Sidious would seize its power to ensure his own immortality. If it failed, Vader's despair would chain him to the dark side forever. The Inquisitors moved in secret, their ships cloaked as they descended through Mustafar's ash-choked skies. Vader's search for Luke led him to the Outer Rim, where rebel activity had spiked. On the desert world of Jakku, he sensed a disturbance in the Force, a flicker of light that could only be his son. Vader's Star Destroyer, the Executor, loomed over the planet, its shadow swallowing the dunes. He descended alone, his boots sinking into the sand as he followed the Force's pull. The rebel outpost was a ramshackle camp, its defenses no match for Vader's wrath. Blaster fire erupted as he approached, but his lightsaber deflected each bolt with mechanical precision. Rebels fell in droves, their screams swallowed by the wind. In the heart of the camp, Vader found a holo-transmitter broadcasting rebel coordinates. The Force whispered a truth. Luke had been here, but he was gone, slipped through Vader's grasp like smoke. Frustration boiled within Vader, his fist crushing the transmitter into sparks. As he turned to leave, the seventh sister emerged from the shadows, her dual-bladed saber spinning like a crimson storm. She accused Vader of treason, her voice dripping with zeal. The duel was swift and merciless. Vader's strength overwhelmed her, his blade cleaving through her weapon and into her chest. Her final words were a warning. The Emperor knew of his plans. Vader stood over her body, the weight of Sidious's gaze pressing against him. The Inquisitors were closing in, and the ritual's secrecy was unraveling. Returning to Mustafar, Vader found his fortress breached. The fifth brother and eighth brother had infiltrated the lower levels, their presence a stain in the Force. Vader hunted them through the labyrinthine halls, his rage a palpable force that cracked the obsidian walls. The fifth brother fell first, his overconfidence shattered by Vader's relentless strikes. The eighth brother proved more elusive, using the fortress's traps to slow Vader's advance. Their duel spilled into the lava chamber, where molten rivers cast an infernal glow. The eighth brother's agility was no match for Vader's power. A force push sent him plummeting into the magma, his screams fading into silence. But the breach had cost Vader time, and the holocron's warnings echoed louder. The nexus point was weakening. Vader's meditations revealed a new complication. The Force Nexus on Endor was not only a point of convergence, but a battleground where light and dark clashed. To complete the ritual, he needed to anchor it with a second sacrifice, one who embodied the light side. His thoughts turned to Ahsoka Tano, his former apprentice, rumored to be aiding the rebellion. Ahsoka's strength and connection to Anakin made her the perfect candidate, but capturing her would be no easy task. Vader dispatched probe droids to scour the galaxy, their sensors tuned to her unique Force signature. Reports soon confirmed her presence on Lothal, where she was rallying rebels against Imperial forces. Vader arrived on Lothal under a sky bruised with storm clouds. The rebel base was hidden in the grasslands, its defenses bolstered by Ahsoka's leadership. As Vader approached, the Force sang with her presence, a bittersweet echo of their shared past. The rebels fought fiercely, but Vader carved through their ranks, his lightsaber a harbinger of death. Ahsoka confronted him in the ruins of an ancient temple, her white blades igniting with a soft hum. Their duel was a dance of memory and pain, each strike a reminder of the bond they once shared. Ahsoka fought with grace, her movements fluid, but Vader's power was unrelenting. He drove her back, the temple's stones crumbling under the force of their clash. With a surge of dark energy, Vader disarmed her, pinning her against a pillar with a force choke. Ahsoka's eyes met his, searching for Anakin, but found only the mask of Vader. He bound her in cuffs and dragged her to his shuttle, the ritual now within reach. On Mustafar, Vader prepared the final steps. Ahsoka was imprisoned in the fortress's deepest cell, her defiance unbroken despite her chains. The corrupted Kyber crystal pulsed stronger now, sensing the Nexus Point's alignment. Vader's blood, already spilled, had begun to bind the ritual's components, but Ahsoka's sacrifice would complete it. Yet doubt gnawed at him. Ahsoka's presence stirred memories of the Clone Wars, of laughter shared in the heat of battle. He crushed these thoughts, focusing on Padmé's face, her smile the only truth that mattered. The ritual chamber was ready, its obsidian altar engraved with Sith runes that glowed like embers. Vader placed the Kyber crystal at its center, its red light bathing the room in an ominous hue. As the alignment neared, Sidious made his move. A fleet of star destroyers emerged from hyperspace above Mustafar, their turbo lasers primed. The Emperor's shuttle landed at the fortress's gates, flanked by royal guards. Sidious had come to claim the ritual's power or destroy Vader in his failure. The fortress trembled as Imperial forces breached its outer defenses, their blasters clashing with Vader's automated sentries. Vader sensed his master's approach, the dark side coiling like a serpent. He stood at the ritual chamber's entrance, lightsaber ignited, ready to defend his one chance at redemption. The Kyber crystal wobbled, its light flickering. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the galaxy, with Padmé's resurrection hanging in the balance. The Mustafar fortress quaked under the relentless barrage of Imperial star destroyers, their turbolasers carving glowing scars across the obsidian spires. Lava rivers surged through cracked foundations, their molten fury casting a crimson haze over the ritual chamber. Darth Vader stood at the chamber's heart, his black armor reflecting the pulsing red light of the corrupted Kyber crystal, now trembling on the obsidian altar etched with Sith runes. Ahsoka Tano, shackled at the chamber's edge, strained against her cuffs, her white-blue montrals catching flickers of firelight, her eyes burning with defiance. The Force screamed as the Endor Nexus Point's alignment reached its zenith, thinning the veil between life and death. Vader's mechanical breathing rasped like a metronome, each breath counting down to the moment he could resurrect Padmé Amidala. But the dark side coiled with treachery. Emperor Palpatine's presence loomed, a suffocating shadow in the Force, threatening to shatter Vader's dream. The ritual teetered on a knife's edge, and the galaxy braced for the storm. The chamber's entrance exploded inward, Imperial royal guards flooding through in a tide of crimson robes, their vibropikes glinting like fangs. Vader met them with merciless precision, his lightsaber igniting in a crimson arc that cleaved through armor and flesh. The guards fell like leaves in a gale, their screams swallowed by the roar of lava breaching the walls. Stone cracked, molten streams hissing as they met the cold floor, and the air grew thick with ash. Vader's blade danced, severing limbs, shattering weapons, painting the chamber in blood. A stray vibropike grazed his arm, sparking against his armor, but he crushed the attacker's skull with a force grip, the body crumpling like paper. The last guard fell, and silence descended, broken only by the distant thunder of the Imperial assault. Then, Darth Sidious entered, his hooded silhouette a void against the firelight. His twin red sabers hissed to life, bathing the chamber in a malevolent glow. No words passed between master and apprentice. Their conflict was older than words, a clash of wills forged in betrayal. Their blades met in a blinding explosion of red, sparks raining as the force quaked. Sidious moved like a wraith, his strikes a whirlwind of precision, each slash probing for weakness. Vader countered with brute force, his saber swings cracking the altar's edge, sending shards flying. The kyber crystal pulsed erratically, feeding on their rage, its light flaring until the chamber seemed to burn. The duel spilled across the room, blades locking, the air crackling with energy. Sidious's laughter echoed, a venomous taunt that Vader's obsession with Padmé was his undoing. Ahsoka seized the chaos, her cuffs snapping under a surge of the Force. She lunged for her white sabers, discarded near a fallen pillar, and ignited them with a defiant hum. Vader sensed her movement, but Sidious struck first, unleashing a torrent of blue lightning that sent Vader crashing into the altar. Ahsoka charged Sidious, her blades a blur of white fire, carving through the air with desperate grace. The Emperor parried with ease, his sabers spinning, and countered with a force push that hurled Ahsoka into a wall, stone crumbling around her. Blood trickled from her brow, but she rose, undaunted. Vader staggered to his feet, his armor sparking, and rejoined the fray, his blade locking with Sidious's in a shower of sparks. The three warriors wove a deadly tapestry, their movements a symphony of light and shadow, the chamber trembling as the Nexus Point's energy surged. Lava burst through the walls, flooding the floor in glowing streams, forcing the combatants onto a narrow platform above the molten tide. Sidious's voice cut through the roar, accusing Vader of betraying the Sith for a dead woman's ghost. He unleashed another bolt of lightning, driving Vader to one knee, circuits in his suit popping like gunfire. Ahsoka dove between them, her sabers deflecting the bolts, her body trembling under the strain. The effort buckled her knees, her breaths ragged, but she held the line. Vader roared, surging forward, his blade grazing Sidious's shoulder, drawing a hiss of pain. Blood seeped through the Emperor's robes, but his counterattack was relentless, a force choke that lifted Vader off the platform, his limbs convulsing, armor creaking. Ahsoka struck, her blade slashing Sidious's arm, breaking his hold. Vader crashed to the platform, rolling to his feet, and the duel erupted anew, their blades a frenetic blur against the molten backdrop. The kyber crystal shrieked, its light fracturing as the ritual reached its critical moment. The Nexus Point's alignment peaked, the Force howling as the veil between worlds thinned. Vader sensed Padmé's presence, a faint whisper beyond the chaos, urging him to complete the ritual. Ahsoka's blood was the final piece, her light side essence the anchor needed to bridge life and death. He turned on her, his saber swinging with lethal intent. Ahsoka met his strike, her white blades locking against his red, her eyes blazing with betrayal and sorrow. Their duel tore across the platform, lava spraying, pillars collapsing. Ahsoka fought with fluid precision, dodging Vader's crushing blows, but his strength was a tidal wave. He drove her back, their blades clashing in a shower of sparks, the platform cracking beneath them. Ahsoka's foot slipped, her balance faltering, and Vader disarmed her with a brutal slash, one white saber skittering into the lava below. Sidious seized the moment, his lightning engulfing both Vader and Ahsoka in a blinding storm. They convulsed, the Emperor's laughter a cruel crescendo. Vader's suit sparked violently, his vision blurring, but his will was unbreakable. He redirected the lightning with a desperate surge of the Force, the bolts arcing into the Kyber crystal. The crystal exploded in a blinding flash, its fragments raining like molten stars, and the ritual's energy erupted in a shockwave that shattered the chamber. Walls caved in, lava flooding the platform, the air turning white-hot. Vader shielded Ahsoka with his body, the molten tide scorching his armor, melting circuits in his chest. Sidious vanished in the chaos, his presence fading as the Nexus Point's power collapsed. But Vader knew he lived, a shadow retreating to strike again. The fortress groaned, its structure failing as the Imperial fleet intensified its assault. Vader staggered to his feet, his suit smoking, and pulled Ahsoka from the rubble. Her pulse was faint, her body bloodied, but she clung to life. The ritual had failed, the Kyber crystal shattered, the Nexus Point's alignment lost. Yet in the Force, Vader felt Padmé's presence linger, not a promise, but a memory, soft and fleeting. He carried Ahsoka to his shuttle, the lava rivers swallowing the ritual chamber behind them. As the shuttle broke Mustafar's orbit, Vader sensed Sidious's survival, a dark stain pulsing in the Force. The Emperor's wrath would come, but for now, Vader's focus was Ahsoka, unconscious in the hold, her survival a fragile thread tying him to the man he once was. The dream of Padmé flickered, not extinguished but impossibly distant, a star fading in the dawn. Above Mustafar, the Executor awaited, its crew loyal to Vader despite the Emperor's fleet. He ordered a retreat to the Outer Rim, plotting his next move. The ritual's failure was a wound, but the Force whispered of other paths, other secrets buried in the galaxy's shadows. Vader's gaze lingered on Ahsoka, her face serene despite her injuries. For a moment, Anakin Skywalker stirred, grieving the pain he had inflicted on his apprentice. But Darth Vader crushed the sentiment, his yellow eyes hardening. The galaxy would bend to his will, or it would burn. The shuttle streaked into hyperspace, leaving Mustafar's fires behind, but the war within Vader raged on, a battle between love and darkness, with no end in sight. The Executor drifted through the void of the Outer Rim, its sleek hull a silent sentinel against the backdrop of distant stars. Inside, Darth Vader stood in the medical bay, his black armor scorched and dented, the rhythmic hiss of his breathing a stark contrast to the sterile hum of the Bacta tank where Ahsoka Tano floated, her wounds slowly healing. The ritual's failure on Mustafar weighed heavy, a wound deeper than any lightsaber could inflict. The Kyber crystal was shattered, the Nexus Point's alignment lost, and Padmé's presence in the Force had faded to a whisper, a cruel echo of the life Vader could not reclaim. Yet, as he gazed at Ahsoka, something stirred within him, an ache not of rage, but of regret, a flicker of Anakin Skywalker refusing to be silenced. The galaxy spun on, indifferent to his loss, but for the first time in years, Vader felt the pull of a different path. Ahsoka stirred in the Bacta tank, her eyes fluttering open, meeting Vader's through the glass. No words were needed. Her gaze held a quiet accusation, a mirror to the pain he had caused. Vader turned away, his cape trailing as he retreated to the bridge. The stars outside stretched into infinity, each a reminder of the promises he had broken. He replayed the ritual's final moments in his mind. The Kyber crystal's explosion, Sidious's lightning, Ahsoka's defiance. The Sith holocron, now a charred relic, offered no answers. Yet the Force whispered of another way, not to revive Padmé, but to honor her. Vader's mechanical hand clenched, the idea foreign and fragile. Could he, a creature of darkness, build something worthy of her light? The Executor's crew moved with cautious efficiency, their loyalty to Vader strained by the Imperial fleet's assault on Mustafar. Reports flooded the bridge. Sidious had survived, retreating to Coruscant to rally his forces. The Emperor's wrath would be unrelenting, a storm that would hunt Vader across the galaxy. But Vader's focus shifted to a new signal, faint but persistent, intercepted from a rebel outpost on Yavin 4. It was Luke Skywalker, his son, broadcasting a call to arms against the Empire. The Force pulsed with Luke's presence, a beacon of hope that stirred memories of Padmé's courage. Vader ordered the Executor to set course for Yavin, not to destroy, but to see, perhaps to understand, the boy who carried her legacy. On Yavin 4, the rebel base buzzed with defiance, its jungles hiding fighters who dared to challenge the Empire. Luke Skywalker stood among them, his blue lightsaber a symbol of resistance, his eyes carrying a resolve that mirrored Padmé's. Vader's shuttle landed in a clearing, its arrival scattering rebels like leaves. He emerged alone, his presence a shadow that silenced the jungle. Luke faced him, unafraid, his saber ignited but steady. No duel erupted. Instead, they stood in a tense silence, the Force swirling between father and son. Vader saw Padmé in Luke's features, the same determination, the same refusal to yield. He spoke no words of the ritual, no promises of power. Instead, he lowered his saber, a gesture that shocked the rebels watching from the trees. Ahsoka, now recovered, had followed Vader in secret, her presence masked in the Force. She watched from the jungle's edge, her white sabers unlit, her heart torn between loyalty to the rebellion and the faint hope that Anakin lingered within Vader. Luke's voice broke the silence, not with accusations but with questions, about his mother, about the man Vader had been. Vader's response was halting, his mechanical voice stripped of menace. He spoke of Padmé's love, her belief in a galaxy free of tyranny. For a moment, the mask seemed to crack, revealing a man drowning in regret. Ahsoka stepped forward, her presence a bridge between them, and urged Luke to listen, not to the Sith, but to the truth buried in Vader's words. The moment shattered as Imperial TIE fighters screamed overhead, Sidious's forces closing in. The Emperor had tracked Vader, his fleet descending on Yavin 4 to crush both his apprentice and the rebellion. Vader, Luke, and Ahsoka fought side by side, an uneasy alliance forged in necessity. Vader's crimson blade carved through stormtroopers, while Luke's blue saber danced with precision, and Ahsoka's white blades wove a protective shield around the rebels. The jungle burned, blaster fire stitching the air, but the trio held the line, their combined strength a force the Imperials could not break. In the chaos, Vader glimpsed a future Padmé would have fought for, a galaxy where her son and her friend stood against oppression. The battle's tide turned when rebel X-Wings joined the fray, their lasers cutting through the Imperial ranks. Sidious's flagship loomed above, its shadow a threat that could end them all. Vader made a choice, not for power, but for something greater. He ordered the Executor to ram the flagship, a suicide mission to cripple Sidious's command. The crew hesitated, but Vader's will was absolute. The Executor surged forward, its hull breaching the flagship's core in a blinding explosion. The shockwave rocked Yavin 4, debris raining like meteors. Sidious's presence flickered in the Force, weakened but alive, retreating once more into the galaxy's shadows. Vader survived, his shuttle escaping the Executor's destruction. He landed on Yavin's moon, alone, his armor cracked, his body failing. Luke and Ahsoka found him, the jungle quiet now, the battle won. Vader removed his mask, revealing Anakin's scarred face, his yellow eyes softened by pain. He spoke of Padmé, not as a dream to resurrect, but as a guide whose love had shaped them all. He urged Luke to rebuild what he had broken, to protect the galaxy Padmé believed in. To Ahsoka, he offered an apology, a whisper of the master she once knew. With a final breath, Anakin Skywalker closed his eyes, the Force carrying him to Padmé at last. In the months that followed, the rebellion grew stronger, fueled by Luke's leadership and Ahsoka's wisdom. Yavin 4 became a beacon of hope, its temples housing a new generation of Jedi, unbound by the old Order's fears. The Empire fractured without Vader's iron grip, and Sidious's influence waned, his plans undone by the man he thought he controlled. Padmé's legacy lived in Luke's compassion, Ahsoka's resilience, and the galaxy's slow march toward peace. On Naboo, a quiet memorial rose by Lake Varikino, where Padmé and Anakin had once dreamed of a life together. Luke and Ahsoka stood there, the water reflecting the stars, and felt her presence, not as a ghost, but as a light that would never fade. And folks, that's our story. This one was a wild ride, diving deep into Vader's heart and the pull of Padmé's memory. I drew inspiration from the Clone Wars' emotional beats and the tragedy of Anakin's fall, hoping to capture that mix of epic action and quiet reflection. What did you think? Could Vader have found redemption this way? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and let me know what Star Wars What If you want next. Thanks for reading, and I'll see you in the next one.